They can imitate you, but they can't duplicate you, 'cause you got something special.
Hello everyone! For today's vlog, we will going to tackle about the urinary system.
The chief organ in the urinary system is the kidneys. These perform an impressive way of tasks including the regulation, the volume of water, the solute concentration, blood pH, as well as the erythropoietin production.
The function that is important in the urinary system would be the filtering of the bloodstream, removing of waste, and returning components to the blood.
Urinary system also includes the ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. And we will tackle this in a moment, but first let's spend some time looking at the kidneys. We all have two bean-shaped kidneys and they sit in the lumbar region, receiving protection by the rib cage. Each has a vertical clot called the renal hilum that leads to the renal sinus within the kidney. It is in here that ureter adjoins along with blood vessels, lymphatic vessels, and nerves. On top of each kidney, we can see the adrenal glands. Supportive tissue surrounds by kidneys. It is made by three layers. First, the outermost renal fascia, made by fibrous connective tissue that secure the kidneys in place. Then the perirenal fat capsule that cushion the kidney, and the innermost fibrous capsule that prevents infection spreading to the kidney. Once inside, we can see the renal cortex and then the renal medulla, which consists of pyramid, each with papilla that points inward. These are separated by renal column, made by cortical tissue. At the center, we see the renal pelvis, which connect to ureter. It also has a branching extension called the calyces. These are the area that collect the urine from papillae, which then drains into ureter. Let us also notice these renal arteries, which splits into segmental arteries and then interlobal arteries, and then arcuate arteries, and finally cortical radiate arteries. These supply to blood that the kidneys will filter once it's entered the renal cortex. Once this process is complete, the cleansed blood leaves through the cortical radiate veins, which feeds into arcuate veins, then interlobar veins, and then renal veins. This exits the kidneys and empties into the vena cava. The filtration occurs into tiny units called nephrons, each of which consists of renal corpuscle that sits in the renal cortex and renal tubule that extend from there into medulla and then back into the cortex. The corpuscle contains a bunch of especially capillaries called a glomerulus, which sits upon the glomerular capsule. Fluid from the bloodstream will enter into the capsule and then into the renal tubule. This tubule has three sections: a proximal convoluted tubule along the loop of Henle, and then the distal convoluted tubule, which again has many turns. Filtrate will pass through all of these while being processed, reabsorbing water and solute to bring back to bloodstream, and what is left after this will empty into the collecting duct, each of which collect filtrate from many tubules. These run down into medulla pyramid, fusing as it to go and finally deliver urine in the calyces. Urine production. Urine produces into three processes. It begins the glomerular filtration, which takes place in the renal corpus. Blood forces through a membrane into the glomerular capsule. Membrane allows water and small solutes to pass through, but not proteins or anything larger, especially in tiny cells. The next step is tubular reabsorption. Most of the filtrate goes back to blood like glucose, amino acids, and water. Whenever it doesn't get back, it will become urine. The third step is tubular secretion. This is the opposite of tubular reabsorption in that some substances from blood make a way to the filtrate like drugs, metabolites, bound to proteins, potassium, and more. So urine will be a combination of substances that will filtered and substances that will secreted. In the end, urine is almost entirely water but contains lots of urea, which is the result of the breakdown of amino acids. There are also ionic solids like sodium, potassium. So once the urine produced, it has to leave the body. Ureters are slender tubes that transfer urine from the kidney to the urinary bladder, where it is stored until it is released from the body. The walls of the ureter are made of the three layers: mucosa, which made by epithelium; muscularis, made by smooth muscle; and the adventitia, made by fibrous connective tissue. The bladder is a highly flexible muscular sac with a region called trigone, which continues on the urethra.
As we saw, this system ends with urethra, which part of the male and female genitalia.